So now we're going to take a look at the Career Toolkit and other resources provided by the Office of Research Development. And we will also look at considerations when you are submitting, and that will be Rose Driver from the Sponsored Research Administration who will be doing that part. If you haven't been to the ORD website, it is ord.fsu.edu. The Career Toolkit sits on this homepage. You'll see it as you scroll down a little. It'll look like, I think, a little briefcase, and it'll say NSF Career Toolkit. This is kind of a one-stop shop for you to find all the resources, or most of the resources, that you will need as you prepare. It explains the why and the eligibility, which we've already talked about. It will provide you with presentations. There have been some recent presentations at NSF. We try to include those as they come up, so you can look at the different presentations that they provide. There's the solicitation FAQs. There, of course, is the PAPG and the PAPG fact sheet available on that site. It gives you information about every person at FSU who has received a career award. You can contact them if you feel that is appropriate. It also gives you links to past workshop information that we've had from before. It talks about the merit review criteria, which is what you will be, what they will be using to score your proposal. There's information about broader impacts, your education plan, and planning your writing, and some timelines, specific information on writing the proposal. And I missed contacting a program officer, what you say and what you should not say. And then information on how you submit, which Rose will be going into in a little more detail as well. The schedule is listed here, as I mentioned before, in case you forget, and my contact information. So if you, again, have anything that causes you to stumble, you can go to that site and take a look. Another thing I've mentioned a couple of times is the successful proposal examples. This is a database, if you haven't looked at it yet, through the ORD website, that has examples of successful proposals. One thing that Sasha mentioned was sometimes it is good to see both good ones and not so good ones, and maybe we will try to get a copy of a few, maybe an iteration of the first time they submitted and when they actually were awarded. That might be helpful, so I will try to get that. But right now, if you go into the successful proposal example database and you go on the external tab, internal are CRC examples, external are from different federal and private entities. So even if you're not looking for career examples, you can go to this, but type in career for our purposes today, and you'll see quite a few career proposals. You can look at these to see how somebody else wrote for your area, as far as how it's laid out, because sometimes it's easier to get an idea of how other people have done it in the past to see how you may be looking at writing it. I would encourage you to look at the ones that were awarded more recently for how the layout is, but there are also some excellent ones that were written years ago, 14, 15, that were written really well, that you may want to look at too, just to see how they were written, what the flow is like. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that ORD provides peer review. What this is if you want it, we will ask you to finish your 15 pages earlier than you probably would like to without this. But then we will set up a peer review where we will have 3 faculty serve as a peer review of your proposal. And we will have a session where they will go through your proposal, what was good, what wasn't so good, what was clear, what was not so clear. And then we'll provide the Zoom information back to you, and you can use this as a way, as a tool, an excellent tool to help you tweak your proposal, revise your proposal so it's as strong as it can be before it goes to NSF. I will send information about that process, but just keep in mind, as I mentioned, if you're going to partake of this, you need to think about having your proposal ready early so that there is time to do this. And lastly, I just wanted to give you our website, which is ord.fsu.edu. That's where you're going to find both the toolkit and you're going to find the proposal examples. So I'm going to stop sharing and invite Rose Driver, who's with Sponsored Research Administration. She is going to talk to you about considerations as you submit your proposal. Rose, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so pleased to talk with you guys. So what I'm going to do is kind of go over the logistics of how FSU handles proposal submission. And then I believe Beth is going to go over some more specifics about the actual components of the proposal and what that looks like. So I have a brief little presentation. I'm going to share my screen. So just to make you aware, the Sponsored Research Administration does have a 2-hour NSF training where we go over specifics about the proposal preparation and also award management. So if you're interested in that, there's a training link on the SRA website that you can look at and see when that's scheduled. So the first thing I wanted to go over is the NSF ID. So that's something that is going to be required in order to submit a proposal to NSF. The NSF ID is something that will follow you throughout your career. So you might have gotten an ID at a previous institute, and it's just important to know that you're not supposed to create a new one when you come to FSU. You'll just update your information, and you'll use that same NSF ID on your FSU proposals. And I have a little bit of information here about how to sign up for that. You'll go to research.gov, which is the kind of like the NSF website for proposal submission and award management. And if you already have an NSF ID, you can go there to manage it. And so here, I just have some steps. You'll see a register link. And then once you click on that, you will complete your registration and profile information, and then you're going to add your role. And at that point, when you add your role, it's going to send an email to SRA, and we will be notified that you've requested a role as PI normally, and we will approve that affiliation with FSU. So that's how that works. It's initiated by you all, and then we will approve that. And you will need the DUNS number to submit that request, and that DUNS number is on the fact sheet. And there's a link for the fact sheet I saw on that ORD webpage that Beth just showed us, and there's also one on the SRA website. And the fact sheet just has all of FSU's administrative information on it. It has our DUNS number, it has our official administrative address, it has our human subject and animal subject welfare assurance numbers. So it's a really great resource for when you're completing the administrative portion of your applications. To initiate the application, proposals, I don't know if you guys are aware, I hope you are. Last July, we went live in a new research administration platform called RAMP. And so the policy now is that any proposal that can be submitted through RAMP using the system-to-system submission functionality should be submitted through RAMP. So we won't be using Fastlane or research.gov for submission if it can be submitted through grants.gov. And submitting through RAMP is what's going to send it through grants.gov. So RAMP talks to grants.gov, and it will both retrieve information from grants.gov, including the application packages and the instructions, and then it will submit information to grants.gov in the form of your completed proposal applications. So when you're in the funding proposal smart form in RAMP, you're going to enter the opportunity ID here on the submission information page, and that's going to pull in the package for you. And you'll see here in the bottom, it also does have a hyperlink for the instructions. So RAMP is a great resource for being able to get your application started and access the instructions that are provided for that. And so I did actually want to just quickly show you the MyFSU website so you can see how you access this to begin with. So just when you're in Omni or MyFSU, there's going to be a link for RAMP in your MyFSU links. And I've also brought up the stage environment, the test environment. So once you click on that RAMP icon, it's going to take you to your dashboard. And from here, you're able to access the grants module. And this help center is specific for the grants module, and it contains how-to guides and training videos. And there are how-to guides in there about navigation, how to create a funding proposal, which is what we see here in the presentation, how to create a proposal budget. Everything you need to know is in there. So, and your grants officers are more than happy to help you with any of that. Once you initiate a funding proposal, it will automatically assign to a specialist. And so the specialists are the central office grants officers like me. And you can reach out to them and ask them any questions that you might have about getting your proposal completed and submitted. So this is how we'll initiate the system-to-system submission, is by entering the opportunity ID in the funding proposal smart form. Good. And I did want to have a screenshot for you in this material that will be provided to you after the workshop for you to be able to remember how to access that help center. And I wanted to list also 2 of the how-to guides that I think would be very specifically helpful for starting to understand how the application process will work. So we have a how-to guide for creating and updating SF424 forms. And the SF424, that's the name of the federal forms. So that's what's going to be migrated into RAMP from grants.gov. That's what you're going to fill out. That's where all the content of the application will be entered in the SF424. And this instruction guide has screenshots. Actually, let me just navigate to it quickly here and show you what that looks like. So this is that how-to guide, how to create and update SF424 forms. And you'll see here that it gives you screenshots from the funding proposal workspace. You're going to use this activity, create update SF424, and then that's going to generate your actual application for you. You'll select which forms you want to include in the application, and then a link will appear in the funding proposal workspace. And when you click on that link, you'll see here it says you're in the SF424 workspace, and you'll click Edit Grant Application, and your application will be right there for you in RAMP. And there's just a couple other screenshots here that show about some of the functionality within the smart form, how to check for errors, how to route it, how to validate it. And so this is a really great resource. And the other how-to guide that I wanted to bring your attention to is our NSF system-to-system submission tip sheet. So we have realized that submitting to NSF in RAMP has some differences that we were not accustomed to when we were submitting in Fastlane or research.gov. So just to kind of help with that change of submitting in RAMP instead, we have generated this tip sheet for submitting to system proposals to NSF. And so there are just a few that I wanted to highlight while we were here talking. We don't need to worry so much about whether or not it can be submitted. The career proposals can be submitted through RAMP, so that's good. But let's go down to here. I think it's item 11. Yeah, so you're going to see that we do have a grants.gov specific application guide for NSF. And I have a link for that in a later slide. But that guide will tell you that your other supplementary documents can be included as part of the project narrative, but we have discovered that that will return an error. So this is important for career proposals because the departmental letter needs to be uploaded as an other supplementary document, and that will go, we have the location here for you. So it's going to go under other attachments, and you don't need to remember this right now. It's just important to know that this resource is here. And when you start drafting that departmental letter of support, just try to keep in the back of your mind that we have instructions about where to upload that, but your grants officer will also assist you. And we also have some information here about the NSF cover sheet, the unit of consideration, how you want to route your proposal within NSF, and how to enter your NSF ID into your proposal. So this is just a really great resource I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of. Also, if you're submitting to the bio directorate, you will have to do a component in Fastlane after submission. So you want to make sure not to submit at 4:59. And so you want to get that in earlier in the day so that you're able to then go in and complete the additional form in Fastlane. So let's go back to our presentation. Those are again in the Help Center that are in the grants module. You'll see that every different module will have its own Help Center. We'll have export control. We have an IRB module for human subject work, an animal iCook animal subject module, but the grants module is where you'll find the Help Center with the specific how-to guides. And then your other resources, like Beth mentioned, but you'll have the PAPPG, and I put a link in here so that you can pull that up if you haven't already. This is going to be the more comprehensive guide that NSF offers about documentation specifics and application components. And then this is updated every year. The beginning always has a summary of significant changes, but I'll tell you, I have been reviewing proposals for a couple of years now, and I still just keep this open every time I'm going through a proposal. It has really, really detailed information about, you know, page length requirements and formatting requirements and, you know, content requirements. So it's a really great resource. And then there's another guide, an additional separate guide for the grants.gov applications. And that's what we'll use to understand how to enter data into the RAMP SF424 applications. So it's going to be a little bit different from the Fastlane. It's shorter than the PAPPG, so don't worry that you'll have two lengthy documents to read. And I find that they're easily navigable if I just use the table of contents within the PDF. And so this is also updated annually. It was updated in October of 2020. And you'll see most of the differences that the grants.gov application guide covers are included in that tip sheet that I showed you that's in the RAMP Grants Help Center. So, and again, your grants officers are more than happy to go over any of this information with you. They'll do a secondary review for administrative items. So don't worry that, you know, you need to have a firm understanding of all the administrative aspects of it when you're getting your application put together. So if anybody has any questions about the sort of administrative logistics of getting your application submitted for internal review at FSU, Feel free to reach out to SRA. You can reach out to your grants officer. You can reach out to me. The SRA website is a great resource too. So best of luck with your proposal preparations. I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you so much, Rose. I didn't see any questions come up, but there was a question about the peer review. Basically, you would need to have your proposal ready about 5 weeks early. We need about 5 weeks to be able to set up the review, get the reviewers, hold the review, and give you a couple weeks after to make changes to your proposal. So think about if you're going to do that, your proposal would need to be ready about 5 weeks prior to submission. Now you could have other things you could be working on too still, but as far as the 15-page document, that would need to be 5 weeks early. And again, I'll send out information to all of you. So if you are interested, last year we had about 6 people participate and all of them said it was extremely helpful and they did make edits. So it's always good to have some eyes on it before it goes. So I hope you do consider that. So thank you, Rose. I know that SRA will be very helpful for everyone. So thank you.